The question was asked about WileyPlus section 1.2 question 002, and there are several parts to that question. I'm going to answer 4 of them, or look at 4 of them, and hopefully from what I say you'll be able to deduce the answers to the rest of them. Okay, so we have the graphs of 2 functions. We have f of x given here and g of x given here. And we're asked, first of all, to take the limit as x approaches 2 of f of x. Well, that would be, using their properties of linearity, the limit as x approaches 2 of f of x plus the limit as x approaches 2 of g of x. And if we look at the graph of f of x, as x approaches 2, the limit of f of x is 0. And if we look at the graph of g of x, the limit as x approaches 2, the limit is negative 1. So this becomes 0 plus negative 1, or simply negative 1. Okay? All right, next we're asked about the limit as x approaches 0 of f of x plus the limit of g of x. Now we have to be a little bit careful here, because the thing is, it says that if you look at the theorem that deals with the linearity, the limit of the sum is the sum of the limits, it says if, remember that it says that this situation, it basically says this is that if the limit as x approaches a of f of x is equal to L1, and the limit as x approaches a of g of x is L2. All right, now there's something implicit in this statement. It's that this limit exists, it's L1, and this limit exists, it's L2. And then in that case, we can say that the limit as x approaches a of f of x plus g of x, all right, is equal to the limit as x approaches a of f of x plus the limit as x approaches a of g of x. All right? But that's if both of these limits exist. If we look at the limit of f of x as x approaches 0, in this case, all right, that limit does not exist. When we approach from the left, we get 1. As we approach from the right, we get negative 2. So that limit does not exist. So what about this limit? Now, can we just say it does not exist? Well, we can't do that either. It doesn't say anything at all about this if one of these limits or both do not exist. In fact, there are examples where both of the limits do not exist and the limit of the sum does. All right, so let's, the thing is though, so let's see if we can figure this out. Let's suppose the limit, this limit as x approaches 0 of f of x plus g of x exists, and let's say it was L. Okay? Let's just say that that was the case. Then let's consider this limit. All right, if we look at this limit, the limit as x approaches 0 of f of x plus g of x minus g of x. All right, well then the limit of f of x plus g of x would exist. It would be L, and the limit of g of x would exist. It would be negative 1. So this limit would exist, and it would be the limit as x approaches 0 of f of x plus g of x minus the limit as x approaches 0 of g of x, which would be L minus negative 1, L plus 1. All right, but the thing is, if we could simplify this, this would simply be the limit of f of x. So the limit of f of x would be x plus 1. The limit of f of x would exist. That's a contradiction. What led to this contradiction was the supposition that this limit existed and had a value. And so as a consequence, because that supposition that this limit exists leads to a contradiction, this limit can't possibly exist. So this one does not exist. Okay, let's take a look at another example here. Okay, let's take a look at this. The limit as x approaches 2 of f of x divided by 3 plus g of x. Well, the thing is, if we use that principle, this would be the same thing as the limit as x approaches 2 of f of x divided by the limit as x approaches 2 of 3 plus g of x. And the limit as x approaches 2 of f of x is 0. So this would be 0 over the limit as x approaches 2 of 3 plus the limit as x approaches 2 of g of x. And this would be 0 over, excuse me, well, the first is a limit of a constant, plus the limit as x approaches 2 of g of x was negative 1. So this would be 0 over 2, 0 over 2, which is 0. Okay? One more limit. Let's take a look at the limit as x approaches 0 from the right of the square root of f of x. Well, this would be, all right, we have to ask ourselves, all right, what about this limit? What about the limit as x approaches 0 from the right? Well, as x approaches 0 from the right, the limit value is negative 2. And the thing is, if I take the square root of negative 2, this is not a real number. So this limit does not exist. What do you think about the limit as x approaches 0 from the left? I'll let you think about that.